What is going on? So Ford is making some headlines, and they are some scary, scary headlines. So we're going to share that bad news. We're also going to share some good news, give you some updates about the Lightning, give you some updates about the Ford Maverick, the Bronco. So yeah, some real actual updates, because of course, big headlines with, this could be Ford's last year or disaster at Ford. Some people are calling the end of Ford. Some people are saying that this is Ford's last year. Well, I highly doubt that. I actually see what's coming in, and I'm going to give you all the information of what those incoming vehicles actually look like in regards to condition. I can also give you an idea about the time it takes for those vehicles to get to us once they're actually built. So Marine Vet, thank you very much. Yes, here's Johnny. So that's an oldie but a goldie, a good one. Dirk, Stacy, M. Peugeot, Ridgeview, thank you so much for being in. Really, everyone, thank you so much for being here this evening. I'm sorry, I always start this show at pretty much 7:32 on the dot. It's as if I have that premiere timer stuck in my head. Because when you do a premiere, if you put a 2-minute timer, which a 1-minute timer is a minimum, well, it starts after you actually. But anyways, I'll get on that. Marie says I'm supposed to start at 7:30 even, because she reads all the comments, and she said, yeah, people comment like, is Johnny doing a show tonight? What's going on? So sorry, but really big news tonight. So yeah, Ford is making headlines, and some of it is actually really bad and truthful, and some of it is just media garbage. And I've got some slides to share that with you because, my first little piece of media garbage or misinformation is that general media has been telling you to absolutely not buy a vehicle since last spring. Well, really, they've been saying it since, I'd say, summer 2021, even spring 2021. That's right. We had the whole problems with health and whatnot. That started summer 2020. They weren't saying anything. Interest rates were extremely low. Prices had not gone up at all. Companies were scared that they're just going to be losing all sorts of money and no one would be buying anything. And then everyone went buy crazy summer 2020, all through the fall, all through the winter. So by 2021 spring, we were being told not to buy anything at all. And what's happened since that time? Interest rates have gone up generally a lot. The average new vehicle interest rate is 8%, but I believe the exact amount is 8.32 or 8.33. We'll get to that slide. And then on the new side of, that's for new vehicles. Used vehicles, the average interest rate is in the 13 percentile, so 13 point something or another. So yeah, it's high. But media was telling you to absolutely not buy a vehicle when you get a 2022 F-150, even still now, but last month when they're in December, when there's still some for 1.99%. And I'm sorry, December interest was actually 1.49% on a 2022 F-150. And they're all acting like, and not acting, they're just saying, they've been saying wait 3-4 months since spring 2021, and people that waited missed out on incredible interest rates. And I'm here to actually give you as helpful information as I possibly can, to the best of my knowledge. So we'll get to that. We'll get to the stats. We'll get to, we will do a little wrap up on whether it's a good or bad time to buy. And really, there's no general blanket statement that sells, newspapers and journals and videos. There's no blanket statement. It is both very good and a very horrible time to buy, and it depends on the deal you get. So it's all about being a smart, conscientious shopper, and that's what this channel here is about. It's about giving you the advice that will, save you thousands. That's what we want to do here. Let's start off with some amazing news. We've got some amazing news for this one right here. After you ordered your Maverick July 30th.
Yeah, what is the news?
2021? Was it 2021? 2020? It's all mixed up. Things have been
2021.
Things have been a little more boring since we see less people, but we're back to becoming social again. I've got great news for you. So your Maverick got built. It went into production January 11th, and we figured, Well, it's in production. It should be completely done, give or take, I'd say 2 weeks, roughly 2 weeks after going into production. I expected it to be ready to be shipped out and basically getting shipped out after 2 weeks. The system even gave us an ETA of, it's at the latest on the ETA was February 14th. So I'm like, hey, this is a Valentine's Day present. I'm the sucker. I end up having to buy her flowers because her Maverick didn't come in. No, actually, I'm a sucker because I held on to picking up my Lightning because I figured, hey, we'll get back from Florida. Her Maverick will be here. And well, instead, it was not. It got delayed by a little over a month. It was now looking to be around March 20th, and I had to buy winter tires. Big expense, $1,600 for the Lightning, but great news. Great news. It's coming. It's on its way, and when it leaves the factory, which it has, as of the 15th of February, so right before my birthday, it left the factory. So
Maybe 1 month, I guess.
no.
Less than that?
I'd say once the train moves pretty quick, if there are not any transportation delays, once your vehicle is moving, even though that's Mexico and we're in Canada here, I'm expecting roughly 2 weeks to actually be at the dealer, because I'm thinking about 1 week, 1.5 weeks. It'll be sitting in Montreal. It's going to sit there for 2-3 days, and then it's going to come down. Right now, it's not a distribution center because it's the train station, the hub, the whole waiting area for Mavericks. Well, I have seen things wait there for 2-3 months during the worst times in the last 3 years. But these days, 2-3 days. So it's going to be here probably in the month of February or very early March. So yay, Mary. Thank you, Dan Foster, for that. So we're really pleased about that. We're going to be throwing some accessories on that. We'll be doing more test drives because we want to test what kind of quality this one's going to have. Because Ford is making headlines. So to the real news, Ford's making headlines. You see it right here. Ford F-150 Lightning impacted by separate battery issues. So I reported, and I've got an update on last week's video. It was what's going on, Ford headline, or what is wrong. And yeah, I talked about how there was one F-150 that had an issue. And Ford had yet to disclose what that issue is. Now we know, and we also know what the new issue is. And the new issue is affecting multitudes more. So many more people affected, but still not. Let's not sound like fake news trying to grab headlines. Not everyone's affected. Nowhere near that. Barely anyone is affected in regards to percentage. So the Ford F-150, when I reported, what really happened is that one vehicle off lot, so not in the factory, it caught fire. So last week when I was reporting and saying that, they're going to work on finding a solution, that the factory should be, shut down for a few weeks because it'll probably take them about 1.5 to 2 weeks to find the solution. Then they need to implement the solution into the production line. Well, it turns out it's 100% the battery. So the buck has been passed on to SK. So SK, those batteries are getting made in the United States, but they need to get work. SK needs to get to working on fixing that battery because it caught fire. So your hybrid, I'm still not worried. Ford early on had fire issues, not with the Maverick, but with the Escape. Same powertrain, and that's why her original order was an Escape plug-in. Before the Maverick, we knew it didn't exist yet. So Ford didn't bring it to North America for 1 year. It got delayed by an entire year, in which Marie waited an entire year. So also want to throw out a congratulations to Stan. Stan, congratulations. So you've got your new Maverick right on. I didn't get to see if you're scheduled, built, or if you got it, so just let us know. And David Wall, yes, according to reports, Ford's also making headlines for the Maverick, people loving their Maverick. That is a common theme from day one. Before I tried the Maverick, I said there'd be some things that would maybe bother me about the Maverick. I made a video, 10 things I love, 5 things I hate about the Maverick. And I hadn't tried it yet. No one had tried it. No one had seen it. And it was sort of speculative. If they do this, that could be a problem. But once I tried it from day one, I put my name to it. I was like, I love this thing. It handles, and there's still some people saying it doesn't handle very well, some journalists, and they're wrong. I'm just gonna say it straight out. They're spoiled, and they're like, it's like when you give a kid too much candy and you try to give him a piece of grapefruit, or some fantastic vegetable. No matter what the vegetable or the fruit is, they say it's awful, and that's just because their taste buds have been destroyed. So I make sure that I don't drive those Lamborghinis and Ferraris. I know someone who has a Ferrari. I didn't drive it. I had someone who was very pushy, really cool guy, but really pushy, really wanted me to drive his Audi, the R10, and now he has a Porsche 911, and he still wants me. He's like, no, you got to drive my Porsche 911. I drove his A10, but in town below the speed limit without ever accelerating. I don't want my taste buds to be ruined. The Maverick, for the price point, has incredible suspension. Even if it was $20,000 more, the suspension is still pretty darn great, even at $20,000 or $25,000 more. It's a great handling vehicle. Okay, so I hope this sounds better. We've put a lot of work into things. And now back to this one battery story. One battery caught fire, not the end of the world. These aren't the big issues with Ford. Losing $2 billion because of, things that shouldn't go wrong. The amount of recalls that they had, the amount of vehicles that it affected is great. It shows good ethical behavior on Ford's part, but nonetheless, ideally, that would be considerably less recalls and affecting less people, costing Ford less money. Jim Farley himself said there's about $2 billion loss. That shouldn't have been loss. Marine Vet, thank you very much for the support. Really appreciate that. So what's going on over at the Ford factory here? You've got the F-150. It's affecting 100 units. So this disappoints and impresses me at the same time. I'm disappointed that there's 100 Lightnings that are affected. I'm not surprised because this product was put out pretty darn quickly. It was put out more than twice as fast as the norm in the auto industry. So the F-150 Lightning, this had an incredible turnaround time. I don't remember the exact time periods, but it was something along the lines of normally it would take 7 to 8 years to produce a vehicle from beginning to end. Not to delivery, but once they can say like, here's the Lightning, not here's Johnny, but here's the Lightning, it's 7 to 8 years, and this was a couple of years. So it was more than twice as fast. So very expedient on Ford's part. They used small teams working in one huge room so that teams could communicate and work together very easily. And it's a success. They're going to continue to work in that type of way. So 100 vehicles, and what's really cool and what doesn't disappoint me and I'm impressed by is that Ford has the technology that these vehicles are giving them feedback, and the feedback, the analysis are telling them that these vehicles they're losing their charge, and they're not up to spec, so they're not as powerful as they should be, and they're losing their charge faster than they should be. So what's really cool is Ford's able to isolate those 100 vehicles and their owners and say, come on by, we're going to fix you. That costs money. You could easily hide it and put the blame on the customer. Oh, you didn't use it right. For example, if I have problems with my Lightning, I'm already falling into the charging it every night. That's not good. Here's a tip. If you have a Lightning, don't charge it every single night. It's not made to be topped off. Any battery in any vehicle, ideally, you're going to keep it between 15 and 80%, and you're going to really let it drop down to 15% and then plug it in. I was at 84%, so I'm in the percentile range I'm not even supposed to play around with. On fast charge, the vehicle even shuts down. It's set up from factory to shut the power off, coming in at 90%, and here I am plugging it in at 84%, so that tomorrow I'm at 100%, and today I was also at 100%. Now, something to also keep in mind when you have one of these Lightnings, I left today and it was telling me I was going to have 484 kilometers of range. So almost the full range in kilometers is 515. So in miles, I don't quite remember how many miles, maybe it was 350, but let's say it was roughly 20 miles less than total ideal advertised range. And it's cold today and it's extremely humid. There was rain and then a snowstorm. So I drove 50 kilometers, but used up 100 kilometers of range. It's not because I used up 100 kilometers of range. It's because the vehicle adjusts to your driving and conditions as you drive and as you go through those conditions. So it's a smart system, but you can't get stressed out and say, oh my goodness, my first 50 kilometers cost me 100. I'm going to run out of battery in like no time at all. No, it's just that the original 484 kilometers they were telling me I could do just wasn't accurate. It was, based on had it been, 10 degrees instead of a little below freezing. Sorry, 10 degrees for us is cool, but far from freezing.
Celsius, yeah.
Yeah, I'm in Celsius. Sorry, folks. So it was far from freezing when they had done that calculation, and it was like 8 degrees and sunny the day before, and then this morning it was, just cold and nasty. So that's that. Ford's going to contact these customers. But the big news and why some people are saying, this is the end of Ford is because they're having recalls. And recalls, it's the ethical thing to do, but they really do need to bring recalls down to bring profits up. But I'm happy in regards to customer satisfaction that they're doing these recalls and they're not just sweeping them under the rug. Now, continuing right along, I want to cover something else from Ford Authority. So you can read all these articles over on Ford Authority. We do have, of course, the dark horse. Many people are getting really excited about that. But there's a lot of coverage for something that very few people are going to own. So I'm not in that much of a hurry to cover it. I will tell you, I've got great Bronco news coming up because in the last 2 weeks, I had 2 Broncos show up, and it's a pretty interesting story. So right before we get back to the Bronco news, you see right here, Ford CEO Farley says corporate inefficiencies grew back. Some of my favorite YouTubers, as you all know, of course, Tim Bart's over at Long MacArthur, Dave and Kelly over at All Train Nation, and I do really like the guys. I like Car Edge and also Ray and Zach. It's the same father-son team. And, just today, Zach was talking about how, this could be the end of Ford this year because they've had 2 years to get these things under control and they haven't. I'm inclined to disagree. I really don't think this in any way is the end of Ford. I think Ford, at least for me, they're gaining my confidence by doing these recalls because nothing bothers me more than hearing a story. If we go back to Porsche, when they had come out with their new model for the 911 in 1999, you had people in their 80s having blown engines and being told, well, you drove it too hard, it's your own fault. And Ford's not going to be telling me with my F-150 Lightning that, oh, well, you plugged it in every day when you shouldn't have, so your battery problems are your own. No, they're going to contact me before I probably even notice there's a problem and call me in for a recall or do an over-the-air update, depending what it is. I do have one critique of the Lightning. That Blue Cruise, I'm not a fan of Blue Cruise. When the roads are a little slushy, I could still see the painted lines. The sideline, you could just see the snow once it was in the ditch. And it took the snow as the painted line. So I'll be honest here. I had my notes for tonight's show. I was reading my note. Well, I was flipping through my notes and the vehicle would have gone right in the ditch. So I'm glad I was still paying attention to the road. But lesson learned, Blue Cruise is not perfect. And also sometimes I've set it has speed sign recognition. And if that's on and the speed sign says 35, but you allow it to go, 10 miles per hour over, as soon as it sees the sign saying 35, it's going to speed up to 45. So that can give, it can give you some surprises because I set it for 20 kilometers over. So a few surprises with that. And also sometimes it just slows down and you're like, why? You're in a slight curve, there's a car in the other lane and it just slows down. Probably because it's a little bit more in the curve ahead of you and it thinks it's ahead of you, so you slow down to their speed. But it's been frustrating. Small issues. Overall, it's weird to say, but the F-150 Lightning is the best performance vehicle I've ever owned. It's the best performance vehicle I've ever driven, and it's one of the best handling vehicles I've driven. And by handling, I mean the mixture of being very good in a corner in the bendies as well as comfortable, because here our corners usually have holes in them. So you could have a BMW with, better stats, but if it can't handle a bump, you might not survive that corner. So a few things I want to mention. We'll switch over to the Bronco news, the Maverick news, and talking about scheduling. If you're here because you want to know about scheduling and what's causing problems, I'm here for you for that in just a moment. I'll usually leave scheduling notes for the last half of the show, for the last 30 minutes of the show, and we're going to be there in about 9 minutes. So I'm going to be getting along there in just one moment. So you've got this news article on Ford Authority talking about Farley saying that corporate inefficiencies grew back. So Zach was saying on Ray and Zach was saying, this could be the end of Ford, that, these issues have been going on for years. Yes, Ford has been doing a lot of recalls for a really long time, and I don't have a problem with that. Where I have a problem is if there's actual major issues like engine problems, transmission problems, battery problems, which the F-150 Lightning, thankfully, it's one so far. It never got delivered. It caught on fire, parked outside the factory while in what they call a holding lot. So not a major issue for me. I'm not worried about your Maverick hybrid. They held back the Escape for an entire year. That's a loss of a lot of sold vehicles because they want to get the Ford Escape battery problem under control before introducing the new Escape. And the Maverick, the Maverick hybrid, the first few months, they were basically putting out none. So was there a battery issue or not? I don't know, but things do seem to be under control. I'm not seeing issues with Mavericks coming in. Bronco hardtops. Ford took a lot of slack for not, and still are, for not providing us our Broncos, which now the hardtop is, can be 67% of Bronco production can be hardtops, but for a while it was next to none because the hardtops sucked. They put a few out. They were ashamed of them. They stopped putting them out, and the people that had them got new hardtops. I'll have a little video playing in the back because I filmed a new hardtop that came in, and I'm sorry the dogs are fighting. So Marie, maybe you want to take care of that. If you all give me just a moment to get this camera a little more angled towards Marie, since I'm clearly not the looks on the show. So sorry for that. Thanks for bearing with it. Get Marie in there a little bit more. So you're pretty excited about your Maverick coming in?
Yes, it's soon. It's before the spring, so perfect timing. There's a fight. You are too excited about the news too.
Yeah, they're gonna like the Maverick. It's right size, just like they're right size to take everywhere, including on vacation. So we've got the Maverick coming up. We probably will have more recalls on the Maverick, but so far, the people that I know who are driving Mavericks are just loving them. It's actually one of the stories on Ford Authority. Consumer Reports, top ranks for the Maverick. Customer satisfaction reports show that people are loving their Mavericks. And I was loving our Bronco. I guess Marie might say I'm a jerk because I sold it, but she got a ride in the Lightning, and that probably convinced her that I am a jerk because I showed her how that thing can accelerate. So do watch for our first impressions video.
It was surprising.
Yeah. You didn't think a truck could do that.
No, and at the same time, I'm sure you tricked me because you asked me a question and I was responding to it. So I was so stuck in my head at that time. And with the acceleration, when I didn't think you will do it, I was really surprised. It was fun.
Yeah, it was fun.
But don't do that each day, okay?
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun also with going off-roading with the Bronco. So if you want to see our Bronco off-road footage, we've got JCCR Adventures now. If you want to head over at some point and just subscribe to that channel, because our more fun, less education, and really it's going to be a mix of, driving along through, Miami, just driving through different vacation locations. And when we have fun with vehicles, that's the fun channel. And this is going to be more the educational channel where
The
sometimes we
news
have the
channel.
news,
Yeah.
the ways to save money, tricks to not be tricked by dealers. So don't be fooled, BS buster, and news information, ways to save thousands. That's all here. But if you want to see us have a little bit of fun, see more of the dogs here with us, the family.
Yeah, because they always doing rides with us in the car. So yeah, we bring all the family.
So here we've got, I just want to show the new Explorer. We've got the screen. Looks like it's going to be a screen similar to that in the F-150 XLT 302s. We'll get to some of the restraints and constraints on the 302, the Bronco, all those models at the end of the show. I just have to go through a little bit of, get on my soapbox, a little bit of a rant. But I guess before the rant, since I'm in a good mood, let's talk about vehicles coming in. So let's check this out right here. We've got, in the background, we've got a Bronco. So if I'm going to try, yeah, I can get that to be bigger. So right here, we've got a Bronco. Area 51 looks very similar to the new Azure. Azure is a great color. It's a blue-gray. This is also a blue-gray. Love the Area 51. But guess what? Really interesting facts. This is a wild track. It is a 2.7 liter. It has a high package and a hard top. So it has every single constraint but one. What's the one constraint it doesn't have? It doesn't have luxury package. I ordered this for somebody November 18th, 2022, not 2021, November 18th, 2022. That is not a Bronco. It has 4 doors. M. Peugeot, you're a comical man as always. Always enjoy your humor on the show. But so the 4-door Bronco here was ordered November 18th, 2022. Has every constraint but one. And yes, where you order from, your region, your dealership, all play huge roles. But I'm seeing this locally at my dealership. I'm seeing this regionally at other dealerships. And I'm also seeing it in general. If you have one less constraint, your chances are greater to get built. And of course, how long it takes and when that will be all depends on your dealer. But this came in very quickly. It came in the same amount of time as a Sasquatch soft top would have. So hard tops are at 67%. Yes, they are constrained, but the real issue is when you have everything stacked up. So it really helped that it didn't have luxury. And, just the other week I did a video, and it's actually, I think, still the thumbnail of the show right here. Sorry about the ugly model on the right, not her, the guy on the TV. But that right there is also a hard top, and it has luxury package, but isn't a Sasquatch. So it has every constraint except not wild track. Sorry, it's missing 2 constraints. It's not wild track and it's not Sasquatch. But it showed up, even though it's luxury, 2.7 liter, Outer Banks without the Sasquatch and a hard top. So try to avoid stacking all the constraints. If you remove one, all the better. If you remove 2, even better. So the condition of those tops are coming in really, really well. I'll see if I've got the video here. So there it is again. Great mags. So Wild Track, it's the Sasquatch mags, but with a black gloss ring instead.
Great looking.
So I do like the capable bumper. You can have fog lights. The full steel bumper, you don't have fog lights. But right here, there you see that color, Wild Track. They throw Sasquatch on the sticker. The interior, Area 51 goes great with the interior of the Wild Track. That is a nice setup. You've got the beadlock wheels, your ring, it's gloss. So black, the horse is black in the back, and it looks good. But here, the top, I was just trying to burn time to get here. The top, all the seams look great. I inspected this thing, and I'm impressed that Ford saw that there was several problems with the tops, and they worked hard, and I can say that they are resolved. So really good news on that end. Also want to make sure that I mention I criticize the Blue Cruise on my Lightning, but I love a lot of features, and departure and comfort's pretty cool. I can set what time this vehicle is going to start heating up, and I'm not burning gas. So I'm not smoking out the neighbors or anything. You set up your interior cabin temperature. It gets my heat seats just right. I get in the vehicle and it's warm, and this is this is faster than de-icing. When I tried to de-ice the windshield the other weekend, it didn't start because I had it set up that it wouldn't preheat if it's not plugged in. So it didn't preheat on the ice storm, and I had 15 minutes of scratching away at the windshield. Because this is electric, the heat that goes onto the windshield is intense. It's very, very quick, and within 2 to 3 minutes, you can get all the ice off with absolute ease. And within about 4 to 5 minutes, the ice is pretty much melted. So really impressed with this. So let's see here. I just want to cover the Maverick so far. If you get into an accident, Marie, I think the Maverick...
That's so sad. It's heartbreaking to see that.
It is heartbreaking, but it's educational. It's very educational.
I hope you don't show that to make us feel bad.
No, but all the Mavericks that have been in accidents so far that I've come across, it seems like the people are really impressed with the level of safety. And I called this, I don't want to toot my own horn, but when, people are saying, yeah, but will the Maverick be safe? Will it be this? Will it be that? It's a new powertrain. I was like, no, it's not a new powertrain. It's reliable thus far because it's reliable in the Escape. Will it be safe? Of course it's going to be safe. It's the same platform as the Escape. The Escape has 5 stars on all ratings, but rollover. So I was trying to get that information. So we've got here, the only features in the Lux package worth having in the Bronco can be easily added except for the heated steering wheel. Yeah, I've never found a solution to the heated steering wheel. And even the adaptive cruise, well, that's interesting. And Peugeot, that one I didn't know, so you've taught at least me something today, and probably the community, so thank you very much for that helpful information. And now time to get on my soapbox, because I'm pretty frustrated here. I don't know what's going on with the news these days. Even Bloomberg was talking about Americans fall behind on car payments at higher rate than in 2009. This is all part of trying to get headlines that make you read and make you be fearful. Apparently, this year's a horrible time to be alive, according to the media. It really frustrates me. And I guess I'm just surprised that Bloomberg then was kind of going along the sort of, I'd almost call it like Twitter media style, and they're using examples of people who have defaulted on their loans, all of them in their 20s. So they're talking about, 20-year-old Kobe Hatch and, need to get that back, and others. So they give 3 examples of 3 different individuals who, faulted on their loans. And I don't know why they need to really, I don't know. It's not for me, that's not the type of information that I find pertinent. The story doesn't have to be made emotional for it to be relevant. But you have to read the whole article, which I think nowadays a lot of people maybe don't. At least that was my experience in university, being around university students. But I'm just going to get this article back. I'm sorry about this, everybody. So just need to go get that article back. So yeah, just quickly on JCCR Adventures. Let's see who emoji their pants and shorts. We had a bit of a wild time over at the beach. Marie, you're better with computers than I am.
Back, is this what you wanted? No.
No, I'm just trying to get...
You went too far.
Okay,
you just went too far.
Okay. And there's an arrow on the side.
He's panicking because he's live.
It's a little harder when it's live. So they're talking some really good information from this Bloomberg article. One of them is that, auto loan payments are generally $1,000 a month. And that is wild. That is very expensive. That doesn't mean that it's a bad time to buy a vehicle. It just means you need to buy the right vehicle for you at the right dealership that's not going to rip you off completely and entirely. So they're saying, their title is that, people are losing their vehicles more than they were in 2009. But in 2009, the big issue was the housing collapse. It was people defaulting on their houses. That would worry me a lot more than, stories about people in their 20s defaulting on their vehicles. Yes, that's sad, but historically, there have always been 20-year-olds defaulting on their loan. I was once a 20-year-old who didn't realize, that you had to pay your phone every single month and your vehicle every single month. I thought, well, it doesn't matter if you wait 6 months and then you put, $4,000 or $5,000 down. Education in regards to being successful was actually pretty poor in my school system. They did a pretty horrible job. They taught me how to sew. Apparently that was more important than managing money. But anyways, back to Bloomberg and
Another story for another day.
Yes, well said. Thank you very much. Keeping me on topic here. So they're saying that in the last 60 days, bills rose 5.67%. So really good stats there. Whereas in April 2021, 2.58%. So yes, inflation is high right now. And what really bothered me though is at the end, you have to read to the very, very end of the article, but they're actually saying that in 2019, the default rate was higher than right now. So pre-pandemic, pre-high inflation, pre-high interest rates, 2019, most of us were at 0%. Some of us were at, 1.99% on our new vehicles, and used vehicles were often financed at 5%, not the current average of 13%. And that's the current average locally. Pretty much all the percentile that I see, I'd say 95% of the time on a used vehicle is 8.99% on a used vehicle, not the national average of 13. So that means there's some in that percentile of 13.33%. There's some people with, bad, I'm going to say it, it's bad credit. Bad credit. They haven't made, they're behaving more like I was behaving when I was in my 20s. And that's part of that high percentage, but part of that is also dealerships telling you that, the current rate, the best we can give you is 12%. I just came across it. Someone just recently, a friend of mine was like, hey, how come this other dealership gave me, what's the percentage at? They just asked me a general question. What percentage should I be seeing on a used vehicle? And I said 8.99. And they said, oh, has it come down a lot? I said, no, it hasn't come down at all yet. Maybe it will because in housing, loans have come down for houses, but mortgages, but the rate is 8.99. And there's a little bit of play in that, but in either direction, but very little. And it depends, the vehicle, the financed amount, how long it's financed for, what year it is. There's a multitude of there's several criteria, but generally 95% of the time I see 8.99. And she was told that the best possible interest rate after she kind of fought for it was 10.99. So she didn't tell me what the first rate she was thrown, but after a bit of work, she was at 10.99. So getting the right dealership is huge. So I just think it's wild that, we've got all these scare tactics in the media, with Americans fall behind on car payments at higher rate than in 2009. So like, oh my goodness, we're in one of the biggest recessions. This is huge. And of course, that doesn't help us. Being really negative isn't going to help fix the economy. Well, it will do one thing. Banks and governments have raised interest rates to calm our spending down because that's how they want to take care of inflation. They want to take care of inflation by having us have less new stuff. Mm-hmm. And I'm against that. I'm not the one that caused inflation, and I don't want to be responsible for fixing inflation. Banks and governments can go fix their own inflation problems from, spending too much, essentially printing too much money and giving out too many loans to people that weren't safe to have, weren't responsible historically for having those long loans. They've made these problems, and I still want to buy my new cars. So I think I'm frustrated, and I'm getting red in the face. So I'm going to change the subject, but it's really entertaining that Bloomberg News at least is still credible in the sense that at the end of the article, they're like, well, people are actually defaulting less than they were in 2019. So maybe this article really was just a scare tactic. So anyways, everyone's trying to get us to stop spending. We're consumers. That's what we do. So if you want to head over to Bloomberg and read that article, I think you'll very much agree with me. Very much agree with me. And I am happy to actually talk about what auto loan rates you should actually see. So that is helpful. Okay, so one thing that has definitely gone up a lot since 2019, though, is the price of vehicles. I was just looking today at a Platinum F-150, and its window sticker in 2015 was a big whopping $74,000, rounded off to 75,000 Canadian, and it came with a $9,000 rebate because it was during employee pricing. And today it's worth on trade $33,000 with 100,000 kilometers in relative poor condition, scratched all around. Interior, it's got some wear and tear. Still mechanically fantastic, but there's a bit of paint scratching everywhere. Now, to replace that truck, $95,000, no $10,000 rebate. So the truck's gone up $40,000 since 2015. And that is a lot. So payments have gone up. We're not seeing payments of 5, 6, 700 Canadian a month anymore. We're seeing more of payments of $800 to $1,200 a month. So payments have gone up since 2019 by a good $200 to $300 per month, and that does hurt. And hopefully that gets under control somehow and sometime soon. If anyone has any ideas, please feel free to share. And now we're off to the scheduling news. So let's cover that up. I do want to plug an upcoming show. So this is going to come out tomorrow at 7:30 at night. I'm going to be talking about the Ford Maverick plug-in all-wheel drive.
Interesting.
Yes, interesting.
You said two things I love, plug-in and all-wheel drive.
Well, we've got, this was Motor Trend, if I recall. Motor Trend called this back in June of 2022. I was talking about this spring or early winter or spring of, and so was Tim Bartz, of course. We were really on the ball with these things, but we're talking about it several months before. But now a new news outlet is talking about the all-wheel drive plug-in Maverick. I just want to set the record straight because, there's talk about this having a 2.1 liter engine, having another article said it would likely have an 11.4 kilowatt battery. There's talk about a Maverick being able to pull 4,400 pounds. So I just want to set the record straight so no one gets fooled. Do a little BS busting, have a little fun with you all, and actually talk about some of the things, us in the community here, the JCCR crew and the Maverick community here, we're, I think we could say we're experts compared to some of these people. But anyways, great article. Two small mistakes. But I want to set the record straight and talk about when we can actually expect this, to discuss whether it's worth waiting for. And, if I listen to big media is telling me do not buy a vehicle. It's the end of the world if I do. And we're buying her Maverick. We're going to buy that Maverick. And yes, the interest rate is going to be a little high. So that's fine. The Mavericks, just recently I took a Maverick on trade, and it was the price it was paid was basically window sticker. I had 10,000 kilometers on it, and it was traded in for the price it was bought for. I'm not worried. Marie, you're going to suffer from a little high interest, but I don't expect interest rates to come down in a meaningful manner for 2 to 3 years. So I think in 2 to 3 years, we're going to be in an amazing position to switch your Maverick. So that's advice to everyone here. I'd say buy your Maverick, buy your Bronco, 6.99%. The Bronco I showed you with the hardtop. If I could get an employee price on that, I think I would sell the Raptor. The Raptor value has gone up. I need to bring the Raptor in, to get evaluated, but I think it's going to be a pretty good value. So the value of used vehicles has gone up, and that is also something to keep in mind. Used vehicles, they're being purchased at a higher price from both the auction house as well as clients at dealerships that treat their clients fairly, but the price they're listed at has not gone up. It's actually gone down by 0.4%, if I recall the statistic exactly, and I don't know why that didn't make it into my show tonight. I just
You have some trouble?
I am having a little trouble because that didn't transfer as it was expected to, but I've got it right here. So I'll share you the exact numbers. So the average my 2022 wholesale price increased 0.7% last week, while the average retail price declined 0.4%. So these are used prices. So I'll show that right here. So used prices have went down by 0.4%, but the new prices, of course, the price they're paying for those vehicles actually went up a little bit in the month of February. So generally, I'm looking at it as it's a good time to trade in my Raptor, and I expect that the month of March and April, there'll either be no depreciation on used trucks and most Ford products. If there's depreciation, it's going to be ever so slight and small. I believe actually there's going to be no depreciation, and actually there might be a little bit of appreciation. I'd say probably some appreciation, values going up in the month of March. So if you're looking to trade your vehicle, I suspect, well, right now already proven good time. March, I think, is going to be ever so slightly better. So I think values are going to go up a little. I think they're going to hold for April. And then either in May or June, they're going to start to depreciate a little. And then I actually, unfortunately, think by somewhere near the end of summer, we'll probably take a big hit. Like we took a big hit in 2021 in July. And we also took a huge hit in November and December. The hit was too big. The market devalued, I guess, vehicles. Everyone got scared. We were all reading, people who buy vehicles, dealers were all, reading too much into this, the crash of the auto market, and we just stopped buying at the auction house. And then this fueled the people that were saying these things. Well, it causes people to follow, the buyers. So people were paying trades less. People were not willing to pick vehicles up from the auction house, and it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy or a self-created prophecy. But then when used lots were empty or low in the month of January, dealers everywhere were like, what did we do? We weren't buying anything in December. We were scared. We started off January so scared. Now it's the end of January. January was, at least locally and actually nationally, January was a good month for selling new and used vehicles. So what happened? They're back to buying. So they're on the buying train. That puts me on the selling train. My 911 is going to take 3 years. So for anyone, question came, how long will the 911 take? It's 3 years. I didn't get a Corvette, but I didn't talk to Marie about the Corvette because she's a big no on Corvettes. But I did.
Talk to me just a little to check.
Before the Porsche, I mean.
Yeah.
After the Porsche, after I gave you what you wanted, I haven't stopped bothering you about the Corvette. But I walked into a Corvette dealership before even shopping the Porsche, and they politely told me to go away. They're like, it's 5 years. We're not talking about the Corvette. We're not showing you the Corvette. We'll sell you this used Corvette, which was, 80,000 new, and we want 130,000 for it. But if you want a new Corvette, no, we're not even taking your deposit, buy it. Basically they told me to screw myself politely because they said, we refuse to take a deposit on a new one. It was rude. They're like, but we will sell you this one for 50,000 more than it was when it was new, even though it's 2 years old. What would have been more polite would have been telling me to go screw myself. So pardon for the language, probably get dinged by YouTube, but there's times for foul language, and that's one of those times. So I walked away from the Corvette, never even told Marie that I had been inside a Corvette dealership. Didn't tell my friends about it, but then told her about
and finally, you lost your time there.
Yeah, I lost my time.
It's almost a told you thing.
Porsche got their $5,000 deposit for a 3-year wait on a vehicle. I didn't even get to pick the options. They said, pick your color, pick your model. Oh, you want a straight 911? Well, here's 25,000 in options. I said, oh, in that case, I'll take an S. And they're like, well, here's also 25,000 in options. We're not ordering with anything less. And then I was like, you know what? I'll just take a straight GTS. That thing is, it's like 186,000 Canadian. You must not have to dress that one up. No, apparently, according to Porsche dealerships, a Porsche that's not dressed up is ugly. So shame on you, Porsche dealership, that thinks your product is crud if it's not dressed up. I think something that's beautiful doesn't need makeup. Like this lady right here. She's beautiful even if she doesn't have makeup. I often ask her, I'm like, oh, cool, you've got your makeup on. Let's go out. And she's like, I don't have makeup on. I'm like, oh, well, you look great that way.
Yeah, you're too kind. I saw a few comments about that. Thank you a lot, Lawrence Merrick and M. Peugeot and Ridgeview. Thank you so much.
Yes.
I was shy showing up with no makeup on the other video, but thank you so much.
And also, thank you, M. Peugeot, about the lost revenue, the $20. It's really appreciated.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. I've been more and more doing sort of the content that I hope like sort of our smaller inner community likes. It's less general stuff to get, you know, lots of views. So I'm not doing those videos where I just, you know, say Ford's doomed, this, you know, Ford's in their last 5 years of being in business, because I really want to cover, I don't want to cover things that just definitely aren't gonna happen. I want to give definite advice, and I don't want to scare people away from buying Ford because I cover, I want to cover Ford. It's what interests me right now. When I feel like covering a Tacoma, I cover a Tacoma, and you know, that's just how we roll here. So
He wants to cover Corvette so bad.
I did a lot of shorts. I haven't published them yet, but I did a lot of shorts. Maddie had to put up with me. She's like, when are you going to come to the beach? So auto loan rates keep moving higher. So the numbers I was using, I said 8.33. It's actually 8.62 for new. That's the average loan rate. And 13.8% for February as the average used rate. That's a bad rate. So just following this data right here from Cox Automotive, 13%. If a dealer tries to throw you 13%, that only makes sense if your credit is bad. Not horrible, but bad. Excuse me, I do not have my glass of water. I don't know how many days this water's been here, but let's live dangerously.
Doing some tests on the live.
I'd say Ford is not in an ideal position right now. The ideal position would be to have some recalls, but half or a quarter as many recalls. But when Dodge only has, you know, 2 million units recalled, I don't have any data for this. All I know is I have, you know, history since 2009, since the bankruptcy issues. There should be more. In my opinion, there should definitely be more Rams recalled than that. You know, I think at what point do you just say, okay, well, all, whether it's 1500s with their transmission or differentials, or the Wrangler with the transmission, at what point do you just say, okay, well, if your transmission breaks, we're going to put in a whole different transmission? Because, you know, we've all heard of the stories. You know, we've seen the photos of frame issues. We've seen photos of a lot of transmission issues. No one's perfect. No product is perfect. It all comes with its pros and cons. Ford does need to make more money by having less vehicles recalled, but not at the cost of ignoring problems. So I think it's great that they're on top of things in regards to dealing with their problems. Should there be less problems? Absolutely. And that will hopefully be resolved in about 3 to 5 years. Now, wrap versus Nano. Had a great question from a community member just this week. Should you wrap your vehicle? I wrap my vehicles. If you have an F-150 Lightning, you have to wrap your vehicle. That front grille is at a 90-degree angle, and it just takes stone chips, full impact, and it will destroy your plastic grille. So please clear wrap the front of your Lightning, at least the plastic grille. If you don't want your lights to yellow with time, also wrap those lights.
That's a good advice.
Now, Nano. A lot of people ask me this question. Does a Nano coating protect you? And I'm sorry, dealerships. A lot of dealerships are going to hate me for saying this. So expect to see some nasty comments coming up on the next videos because I'm not going to make any friends with this. But a lot of dealerships sell Nano nano, we can't call them coverings. It's a fancy, long-lasting wax. It's like going from your regular gum to long-lasting gum. And that's how legally it should have to be sold. Unfortunately, they sell these products often for $1,500 to $2,500 and more when they feel like abusing people. But a nano helps keep your vehicle cleaner and makes, because sometimes it just rains and the dirt washes off. It makes cleaning so much easier. It is a maintenance problem. It makes maintaining your vehicle easier. The only time a nano is going to avoid scratches is if it helps you do contactless washes. That's a wash where the mitt doesn't touch your paint. But those washes never come out quite as clean. There's always a little bit of something left over when you're just pressure washing away the dirt. But when you do pressure wash away the dirt with a nano ceramic job on your vehicle, it's just going to blow right away. So it's a great product for having a beautiful vehicle. However, it doesn't help at all with scratches. It has zero impact for protecting you against brush, branches, stone chips, kids. It's not kid proof. It's not animal proof. Your paint's going to scratch just as easily. So don't buy nano for that reason. And if they try to sell it to you for $1,500, yeah, it's probably going to be good for about 5 years, because at that price, it should be the more complicated, longer lasting product. However, my trick is buy a ceramic detailer, and now I'm kind of being sold onto graphene, but buy either a graphene or ceramic detailer. You spray, generally read the instructions, but very important. There is no general instructions to all of them, but generally you spray, you go one direction, you go the other direction, and some you don't even have to wipe off after that. Do a couple coats. You now have a fantastic, incredible, high-tech, high-quality wax, essentially. But it's not a wax because that doesn't represent it, but just think of it as the modern, updated wax job, because that's all it's good for.
And it's easier than waxing.
It is easier than waxing.
Doesn't put white stuff on your black plastic?
Yes, and a lot of them you can actually do your plastics and make it so that the dirt shoots off your plastics when you're pressure washing so much better. You've basically, well, before YouTube, I'd basically spend weekends trying to clean my vehicles to perfection until I got these detailers. Now Marie loses me for 1 weekend in the spring. All the vehicles get done, and then she still doesn't see me because I'm doing YouTube. Bye.
And don't do it in full sun.
It depends on the product. Some you can. Okay, so that is actually general rule of thumb. Tim Bartz, welcome back. Thank you for making it back to the show. So we're just talking about doing a clear wrap on your vehicle, and that I have no issue whatsoever doing it with the dealer.
Yeah, and Grace wants to know what's the average price to wrap it. So I know it always depends on how much part or how big is the part that you do, but just for the front, like you said, the grill and the lights.
Okay, so let's say just the grill on the Lightning is worth $350. So you can imagine if you were to do the grill, the lights, a bit of the hood, and the bumper on the bottom, you're going to be looking at more around 800 to 1,000 Canadian. Remove 35% if we're speaking American. Now, for scheduling notes, I don't know, does anyone, it's Monday night, and obviously if I check my emails, you'll all see some confidential stuff pop in the back. Oops. But I don't think tonight's scheduling notes are out yet. I'm going to go through them quickly. Not every single point. Tim Bartz at Long MacArthur does a fantastic job of covering these every week. So he'll be covering tomorrow's, but I just want to say last week, the vehicles that scheduled, so check your emails, the Bronco Sport, Econoline, Edge, Expedition, Explorer, F-150, Mach-E, no select, and there won't be any selects scheduling for a little bit because they're not going to get built. Last I had read was April 1st. I heard a rumor about May 1st. We'll have to see, but basically the benefit of that is The new battery is going to be going into the Mach-E almost certainly, and you're definitely getting a cold weather package. And the cold weather package means that you get, the heated seat, the heated steering wheel. And if I do recollect, because that's at the very back of my notes, I believe that also means we're going to be getting the electric driver's seat. So anyone who wants to correct me on that may very well. But just to talk more about scheduling notes, so you've got the Mach-E, the medium truck, Ranger, Super Duty, Transit, Transit Connect, van, and wagon. And these Transits were, boy, for quite a long time, it was like, okay, so Ford basically just isn't building any more Transits. They were probably going to some, fleet sales, likely. I'm not confirming that, but likely, I know Amazon and Walmart and a lot of big companies bought a lot of these vans, but at dealerships, we're getting pretty much none. Just recently, we had a whole bunch scheduled, so really good news. I have faith again in the Transit. And we also have Aviator, Nautilus, and Navigator that you might have had scheduled. What didn't schedule, Bronco, the big one, Escape, Maverick, Mustang, 2024 Mustang that is, and the Corsair. And also, big things that are missing. Your vehicle will probably take a little longer to schedule if you're asking for a lot of tech on it. So one example, the Bronco Sport, due to a supply constraint on the front 180-degree camera, all Bronco Sport Badlands are currently not eligible to schedule because they all have that 180-degree camera. It's for when you take the Badlands off-roading, you can see what's in front of the vehicle. So important scheduling notes that I also want to cover. Switch over here, a 2023 model year Bronco. You've got balance out options. So the Badlands with the 17-inch black high gloss painted aluminum wheel with carbonized gray beauty ring. That's done. That's gone. So you either have to take the standard wheels, so free charge, they're standard, or go to a Sasquatch package. Now, not scheduling, and maybe this, I wouldn't think this has changed, but possibly, but not scheduling was the base, Everglades, and 7-speed manual transmissions. Let's watch Long MacArthur, Tim Bart's tomorrow night, and see if we've got some good news that they are now scheduling. Also, Outer Banks, 312A, 313A, and 314A. The Wild Track, 352A, 353, 354, and Badlands. So all the codes for the Badlands, the 331, 332, 333, and 334. All require base LED headlamps, which is 91V code, removed to be eligible to schedule. So to schedule, they must have standard headlamp equipment shown in Webdo as LED headlamps with LED sign light 91S. Selected to be eligible to schedule. So if there's any dealers out there, that's going to help them. Check your Ford notes. As customers, just want to let you know if you're waiting on your Bronco. So Bronco Sport, we talked about it. No 180-degree camera. Also, orders with the following features may take longer to schedule due to limited availability. The Class 2 trailer tow hitch with trailer sway control. The Maverick now has more hitches coming in. I wonder where they got those hitches from. Poor Bronco Sport. And the cargo management system. So I've always said, accessories, avoid getting them from factory. Have them when they come in. One accessory, though, that's expensive on the Maverick, at least in my region, it's pretty wild, is the hard folding cover. It's 1,700 Canadian with installation. We had a question from the WB. Could you just...
Yeah.
Catch that. So
do you know if it's safe to drive in low in stop and go traffic for a long time on an hybrid such as the Maverick?
That's fine.
It's like a one pedal driving.
Yeah, it kind of makes it feel a little bit like one pedal driving, which I now am a huge fan of. Really didn't like it at first, but once you get used to it, you have a whole lot of fun accelerating really quickly and then letting go of the pedal and instantly having the ability, not having the ability, it instantly starts to slow you down, so you can start slowing down for those stop signs and red lights later than you normally would. Now, if it's a red light, it's not going to get you to your destination any faster, but if it's a stop sign, it certainly will. especially if you do what we call out here an American stop, which means you don't really stop.
Just slow,
You just slow down
and go.
But everyone in Quebec here seems to do it, so maybe we should start calling it the French stop or the...
The everywhere stop. Maybe everybody does that.
Yeah, fair enough. So 2023, we'll go to the Edge. You got the 2023 Edge. Not eligible to schedule are the Titanium 301 and the ST 401. For the Expedition, 2023 Expedition, it's required to have a heavy-duty trailer tow package to be eligible to schedule prior to Q2 2023. If it's a limited, 302, 303, 304. If it's a King Ranch, 400 trim. Or if it's a Timberline, 501A trim. Now, your Expedition might take longer if it's an XLT 202A, a limited 301A, and a Platinum with standard wheel. So they're saying, please consider upgrading to the 22-inch 6-spoke polished wheel to be eligible for scheduling. All Expedition Maxes are going to take longer, it looks like. The dual exhaust system, which is standard on the Timberline, and limited steel performance package, those will take longer, and a mahogany interior trim. For the F-150, early balance out options on the XLT and Lariat for all cab styles, two-tone paint. So avoid two-tone paint. Super cab configurations with any of the following options. So super cab, avoid. It's balance out, so avoid at all costs. Remove it. STX black appearance package. Extended running boards, chrome, extended running boards, accent color, stone gray metallic paint, rapid red metallic tinted clear coat paint. Now, currently not eligible for scheduling is the STX as well as the XLT and Lariat black appearance package. And the Lariat black, XLT and Lariat black appearance package is fantastic. It's got the little hood vents like a Tremor. I also absolutely love the Tremor. So avoid the bed spray in bed liner. Absolutely avoid that. And it will take longer, according to Ford, if you've got the twin panel moonroof, Pro Power onboard, power tailgate, a 3.3 liter engine, 2.7 liter V6 engine, 5 liter V8 engine, and crew cab. But I am not seeing crew cabs taking. That's all I get. I get lots and lots of crew cabs, and I don't see them. It might take longer, maybe a month. I'm not seeing any noticeable annoying delays with this. Did you just say that all Broncos need to delete the LED lights to schedule? And Peugeot, fantastic question. I'll go back. I'll reread the Bronco because I'm seeing Broncos show up with LED lights, but in regards to scheduling. So let's talk about Bronco scheduling. So for the Bronco right here, it says, okay, for the Outer Banks, 312, 313, 314. For the Wild Track, 352, 353, 354. And for the Badlands, 331, 332, 333, and 334. So all of them, all the Badlands. Orders require base LED headlamps, so 91V removed. So you just need to make sure that the base LED headlamps, the 91V, are removed to be eligible to schedule. It says these orders must have the standard headlamp equipment shown in Webdo as LED headlamps with LED sign light. So basically, remove 91V, make sure you have a 91S to be eligible to schedule. So I know that's really precise info, and I'm sorry that's going to bore some people, but I'd rather have a boring channel that I can't live on, and that's okay because I make a living in other ways, but I'd rather have a YouTube channel I can't live on, but you guys get, really the really important information to really take care of you. I'm sorry the WB is making me laugh. Sorry, I don't mean to make it sound like everything's hot off the press. I have this in my printer machine, but I only do lives on Mondays, so I'm sorry. It would have been hot off the press had I done it Tuesday night. So that's that, and that covers pretty much everything I want to talk about because Super Duty, I just want to bring a little bit of bad news for Super Duty. The first few months of Super Duty 2023 production is going to the XL, XLT, and Lariat only. So King Ranch, you're waiting. Platinum Guy, you're waiting. Limited Buddy, you're also waiting. That's going to be available for Job 2. So that's okay. That's planned for April 2023 production. But don't expect it before. And it won't, and it's not getting selected for scheduling at this time. So they'll probably do those like a little bit, not last minute, but scheduled sometime in March. Maybe it's around mid-March to start throwing in a few in April. Because if it starts scheduling April, it doesn't mean that come April they're just going to be pushing out all sorts of platinums, and they'll work them in to the production line, and that's actually for production. So yeah, production. Thankfully, it's not just scheduling come April, but it's production come April. So there'll be some getting produced in those months. Now, a little longer on the F-250 if you want anything, I'll say, the high-tech stuff. So 360 camera, an F-250 with high capacity trailer tow package, F-250 with Tremor off-road package. That's sad because that's incredible. And the F-350 single rear wheel. Now do keep in mind, I'm not sure if your region is affected by the weight of a vehicle, but an F-250 Tremor in my region can no longer be put down as a 9,900 pound gross vehicle weight rating vehicle, and as such needs to be inspected yearly by the government and requires a logbook, and also requires you to stop at the balance, the weigh station, if you have it in a company name. If you have it in your personal name, have fun. You can now have the coolest truck on the market. And I mean for 250s. Because clearly the Raptor is the coolest F-150. That's just an opinion, and who cares about my opinions? It's the data that matters. Okay. Her opinion's important, though. I follow that religiously. So, Hun, maybe you want to just do some questions because I need to have a drink.
Totally. Reggie wants to know, do you have a time frame on when the plug-in hybrid all-wheel drive Maverick will come?
Yes. I will break the punchline. The main reason for watching my upcoming video probably is for that, but we're all friends here, so I want to give it to you. I'll explain why in the video, but I'd say come 2025 to 2027, because the Maverick came out as a 2022 model. Models generally last 5 to a maximum of 8 years at Ford. 5 years would put us at 2027. So likely a new Maverick model for 2027, all the way up to 2029, 2030. But there's a small chance we get this as a mid-model refresh, and if so, it could come as early as 2 years from now. So we could see it possibly as a 2025 model, mid-model refresh. But the excitement is still wild on this. And Ford's big criticism, there's still people saying like Ford shouldn't have offered a hybrid if they can't build any. They're building a whole lot of them compared to, they're building almost as many hybrids as Mavericks get built. Not Mavericks, as Santa Cruzes get built and sold. So just keep in mind the number of hybrids that Ford is going to build for the Maverick in 2023 is going to be similar. Lily agrees with me, and she says it's ridiculous that, people bring this claim that Ford should have never offered a hybrid if they can't build any, that it's a bait and switch. It's not a bait and switch. It's just ridiculously popular. We're asking for so many of them. So in 2023, hybrid Mavericks are going to sell close to the total numbers of Santa Cruzes. And it's 34% of the production. So this is going to completely destroy the Santa Cruz. And I'm also going to mention that Jim Farley has been talked about it in the past, and it hasn't been talked about in a while, about the Lightning. How they're going to increase production of the Lightning and really anything that's electrified. So the Mach-E, the Lightning, and yes, the Maverick hybrid, anything that's electrified, production is going to increase tremendously over the next 2 years. And I have more reason to say that that is absolutely the truth. I'm starting to see that become a reality in what I'm receiving for Lightnings, what I will be receiving for Mach-E's, and also talk of future distribution. So really, I think we're going to be looking at some positive years to come, and I would expect the plug-in all-wheel drive Maverick as a mid-model refresh, so 2025. And if it's not a mid-model refresh, then roughly 2 years later, 2027. But they're already testing it out on the road. So I think we're going to be in business. And I think right now it's 2023. Buy your Maverick. I took a Maverick on trade last Friday. Basically paid for its original window sticker price. So that's fantastic. And Marie, if the plug-in all-wheel drive comes in, that's kind of our on either a Maverick, a Bronco, or a Ranger. Ideally, really, for me, on a Bronco. That's my dream vehicle, a plug-in Bronco. But if this comes out plug-in, you're going to get a great trade value on your Maverick, and we're going to pick one of these up. That's for sure. And hopefully we won't wait as long for it.
We hope.
I was very tempted, very, very tempted to buy. If I would have been told I could have employee pricing on that Area 51 Bronco today, I was making a move on it. I was selling the Raptor and the Mustang, 2022 Mustang GT. I don't know what it is about the Bronco, but it stirs emotions in me that I've never had for a vehicle before.
It's your new favorite.
It's my favorite. I love the Lightning. The Lightning is unbeatable for performance and handling and acceleration, and it saves me this summer with the jet skis trying to get out to the cottage. It's going to save me easily in regards to what the Bronco would use in fuel. It's going to easily save me $500 a month in fuel, and because of a little cash down I put on the Lightning, it basically works out to the same price as this would be monthly. And still, I don't know, Ford did an amazing job on the Bronco, and they worked out the top issue, so that's great. This top doesn't leak, but this also hasn't done any extreme off-roading. So I know Light Bright Nation, really entertaining, fantastic channel. Their Raptor, they just did a short saying their Raptor is leaking, and I believe them, I trust them. But my point is they do some really extreme off-roading with that vehicle. So I wonder how much of the vehicle, there's always a bit of flex in a vehicle, and sometimes there's a lot of flex in vehicles. The not so great ones flex a lot. And actually old 70s and 80s F-150s, I should say 80s F-150s and 70s, F-100s, they were made to flex. It was part of what they, did. But anyways, nowadays if a vehicle flex, especially if it's a unibody, that's horrible. But I wonder how much of their leaking top is due to that extreme off-roading that they do. Yeah, good night, Jack Evans, and see you tomorrow night, Tom. Yeah, because I'll be there tomorrow night as well. So if there's no questions, and if there are, fantastic. Let's jump on these questions and wrap up the show.
I was just waiting for you to finish that question. So he wants to say thanks to Tim Bartz at the same time because he sent you a little tip.
It's funny. I was just wondering. I was like, M. Peugeot donated to the channel $20. I was like, how did we end up at $30? So thank you very much, Tim. That's very kind of you.
Picked it because it's yellow and orange. So like the cyber orange of the Bronco, yeah.
Oh, that's Marie's favorite Bronco. Marie wants, and I actually kind of was hinted that I might be able to get an employee price if I order a Bronco. So we have to decide whether maybe way down the road, if we order it now, we'll get it way down the road.
Just wait a little. I will have my Maverick. You don't need too much car at the same time.
But you need to tell me what color to get, whether it's going to be that green
or yellow.
And I'd love in the comments section.
But we need to see if they will still do that kind of color.
Yes.
We never know.
Well, it will actually come in as a 2023. That I'm pretty 95% certain of. But please let us know in the comments what color and what model of Bronco you think is best. I like the Wild Track, but I really like the Bronco Badlands. I love the interior. You love the interior.
Yeah. The WB says the eruption green is really nice.
Eruption green is my color.
Favorite, yeah.
but Marie is all about that yellow. This actually, I said before that I don't like Area 51 on a Bronco, that it wasn't for me. I saw it clean and I've completely changed my mind. On the wild track, it looks amazing. So, Marine Vet, yeah, thank you for understanding my emotions for that. Azure Gray, Tim Bart says Azure Gray looks good. Yeah, I'd like to see that in person because I think it's like, Tim, correct me if I'm wrong, but is it just a little darker than the Area 51? And if so, yeah, I'm all in for that. I find this is really great, but could just be a little bit nicer if it was a little darker. I'm sorry, Winston is scratching my feet tonight because he's letting me know I went beyond my normal time. So let's get to those questions.
And I also wants to say thanks to Jack Evans that became a member tonight.
Thank you very much, Jack. That's very kind of you. Really appreciate it.
And a special thanks to Dan Foster that says to hit the like button, and Ridgeview for your help as always. You're so good at it, so thank you so much.
And Jack Evans helped make this show tonight because he asked me the question. We communicated over Messenger, and he asked me about, wraps, and I don't know if we got into talking about nanos. I can't remember, but I did mention that I talked about it in the show tonight. So thank you, Jack, for both becoming a member and for reminding me of the importance of talking about nano versus wrap and what price roughly you should pay, because that's important. You don't want to ever paying a little bit more for something because the service is great makes sense, but paying 2-3 times more than something should be never makes any sense.
And Tim says the azure gray color looks really richer.
Oh, cool, fantastic.
So good.
I'm gonna check that out.
So yes, for one question, Craig Nelson, he was joking, I guess, was ordering an XLT Maverick like me on November 2021. He said, "Is it still going to happen?"
Your Maverick is gonna happen because Marie's a July, you're November, and our dealership there's some dealerships that are already in November. But that's, you see there's a difference between dealerships. This was ordered November 18th, 2022. So that took, 4 months? I'm not going to count out the months on my hand and embarrass myself here. But that took roughly 4 months. The top's amazing. It's amazing. It has every constraint except for luxury package. Then the red one in a recent video that I was using as a thumbnail, and sorry, the red one from this video's thumbnail, that was ordered, when was that ordered? I mentioned that just the other day. I think it was October, right around the same time, September or October. So right around the same time, it has every constraint except wild track and Sasquatch. But it is a luxury package, hard top. So don't stack constraints. Try to, as much as you can, try to avoid take off 1 or 2 of the constraints. If you got all, let's say all of them, try to remove 1 or 2. It will help.
Yeah, and I just want to say that Nick North said he finally took his delivery for the 2023 Rapid Red. So congratulations, because I know way before in the other video you were talking about that you were waiting to. So congratulations, you finally got
these
yours.
Are 2023s coming in, and Mavericks. Well, we're now going through we just did her July order from 2021. So in Mavericks, we're a little slower. In Broncos, we're a lot faster. So it depends what dealership you order from, not just for price, but of course also for when you get the vehicle. Because of course, I didn't mention it, but in tonight's scheduling notes, the huge importance for all you dealers, all you salespeople out there and customers, make sure you enroll and COVP. Because a few times in here, and I know people are going to say, "Oh, well, my dealer didn't know about it." We get notes on this, so make sure you order from a dealer where the staff know how to read. You can ask them that question. Be like, "Do you read your notes from Ford, or do you know how to read?" If they've been mistreating you, just be rude and ask them if they know how to read. But if they've been nice and kind with you, well, be nice and kind with them. So, do unto others as we would wish to have done upon ourselves, of course.
Yeah. And still about the order, Susan says that she ordered a Maverick XLT Hybrid 2. She said her build date will be Today, yeah, February 20th. How accurate are they with the date?
It can move around.
But if it's today, can it
Yours got
still move?
the system says it's going to arrive today.
Be built. Begin to
Oh,
build.
be built. Oh, at this point, you're going to get built today.
They won't move it anymore. Yeah.
Yeah, they're not going to. You're going to get built. But once it's built, it could get moved. So Marie had gotten an ETA. It had gone into production January 8th or 11th, right around there.
It was delayed for the.
It got produced. It said produced, and I'm used to seeing things go back to the body shop or whatnot. But then it disappeared for 3 weeks, and then it said it was produced again, and then we got pushed back a month. It was calling for March 8th to March 20th. But right now, it's been on the move since February 17th. So I would expect roughly, let's say, put the average on 10 or 12 days.
Good.
Once it's on the move.
The WB was asking another question about the lightning. He said, when you exit the highway, can you drop it into low to help slow down?
This is for the Maverick?
Not the lightning. I guess when you were speaking about how you brake.
Okay. Well, for the Lightning, I just keep it in one pedal. So one pedal is kind of like the equivalent of, the Mavericks L, the low, or Escape, or a lot of different models at Ford have this L on the circular. Sorry, I'm losing my words here. I've been on air for too long. But the dial, in the middle, there's an L. You press that, and that will help slow down the vehicle. I have pressed it many times when I'm on the highway, and I didn't have any bad interaction with the vehicle. It didn't seem to heat up, but I don't want to answer this question in case, there's some sort of long-term issue with this, but I'm under.
You still learn how it works.
I want to do more research on this, but generally, I've never been worried about driving vehicles and just leaving that L button on all the time. And you'd think that there must be some sort of override system, because honestly, how many of us will remember once we've hit the L, will remember to turn that off once we get up to, above city driving speed, so above 35, 40 miles per hour. So there has to be. But I don't have proof. I don't have the literature in front of me, but there must be an override system for that.
Perfect. And we have a question from Grace Arroyo. What is outlook for Maverick hybrids batteries? Do they last a long time? And what is the replacement cost for this hybrid batteries?
Great questions. Replacement costs for these batteries in the future are going to be very, very different than what they are today. Likely by the time you need to replace them, almost certainly will no longer be lithium ion. They're going to be off to other minerals, other ways of making it, and probably be considerably less expensive. Right now, lithium ion batteries are tremendously expensive to replace. Now the Maverick, at least, to give you an idea, it's roughly $40,000 for a Lightning battery. It's a tremendous amount of money. However, the Maverick is a 1.1 kilowatt battery, so tremendously less expensive, but still pretty expensive. But you won't be changing that in the life of the vehicle. Likely in 20 years, the vehicle is going to be pretty much done. And that's probably about when the battery is going to be done. So my Maverick battery went 10 months later. Oh boy. Okay. Still, Phil, thank you for that information. I'd love if you could share how much the price on that was. Now, obviously this was covered by Ford, so maybe that did not get shared. I have not come across very many battery replacements. Now I have, and I didn't load it in today's show, but I actually do have a battery that was being replaced on a 2019 Fusion. I had a 5-second clip of that, but still under warranty. These batteries are warranted 8 years or 160,000 kilometers, which 160,000 kilometers would be 100,000 miles if I'm not mistaken. So no, it's a little bit more, sorry. If someone could just transfer, use a little calculator, kilometers to miles, but 160,000 kilometers, 8 years. So that battery generally, And actually, I've said it about technology before. Generally, you buy a TV, it's either going to go in, the first year, or your TV will last quite some time. Well, the same thing for your batteries. The battery, the rare instances where they break, they'll probably break early on or just last 15 to 20 years. And we'll be on to different technology, different minerals, and those batteries the prices are supposed to come down when they stop using lithium ion, because lithium is a rare resource. It's expensive to mine, and it's a rare mineral, so it's quite expensive.
Good. And just to close the show, it's not a
Peugeot, that's true.
question, but it's Mike Sawyer who wants to help you with the question you have before. So the L will work to slow down and can be used at any speed, he said.
Oh, fantastic.
Thank you for the information.
I really appreciate that. As I was mentioning, we use it for slowing down. It's kind of like a light version of one pedal driving on electric vehicles. But I appreciate you confirming that we can use it at any speed, because I was a little shy in saying that. I have been using it in the past at any speed, but I didn't know if there was any long-term effect about that. And yes, my heart still is on the Bronco. It's literally
He's wearing it
on my heart. I'm wearing it on my heart right now.
That's all for tonight.
That's all for tonight. Marie's supposed to be watching her show, our couples show at 8:30. So thank you so much for sticking with us.
We had so much fun tonight.
Thank you for sticking with me. Thank you all for sticking with us. Really fun hanging out this evening. Thank you for bringing excellent questions to the show. There'll be more hot off the press next Monday night. And in the meantime, do expect a first impressions video on the F-150 Lightning. You will get a full walk and talk in regards to the all-wheel drive Maverick plug-in coming up. Should you wait? What will trade-in values look like? So I look forward to seeing you all on Tim Bart's show tomorrow night. And just right before, 30 minutes before Tim Bart's show, we'll have 12 minutes on the Ford Maverick all-wheel drive plug-in. So that's going to be a premiere. Hope to see you there. Good night, everybody. Thank you, everyone, for making it this far in the show. You're real troopers. See you next week. Wish you all more cars and more power.
Bye-bye. Good night.
You have me